All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected, and welcome to your daily bit of a doom scroll, I guess. Can't really call it much different. But we're live on Rockfin. What's up, Joseph? Nate Hagen and Bill McKibben. Is that a good conversation? What do they have to say? We're live on Rockfin. We're live on Colin. We're live on YouTube. I don't know. I think I posted the shows really late, so probably nobody on YouTube got a notification. That's my fault. I'm moving a bit slow today. Did some Christmas hanging out last night. Kind of was like a late night. So, yeah, I'm just moving slow. Just having a hard time getting going, but we're here. I mean, there's people on YouTube and whatnot. Phone lines will be open for a few minutes on call-in if you want to call in. Maybe for the next 10. Joseph says, Bill makes the same global assumption that industry demands, that civilization is viable and imperative. Well, I don't know if I want to watch it then. I mean, I guess maybe I'll look at it. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. It's difficult to continue to get. I have a part of my, myself that has a hard time. There are some days when I'm super angry about the state of the world and the state in how people operate and how it all generally works. But a lot of the time, I just don't have the energy to get upset about, people being stupid or just people doing people things. Like, this is how we do. Like, why even, why even gin up the, I know. It sounds, awful cynical of me. It's not that I don't care. It's just that, like, I just, it doesn't seem to operate outside the realm of my expectations or knowledge about how it is that we operate. What's up, William? How you doing?
Kev, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I finally stumbled on you today. I'm calling. I said, oh, look who's having a room. Is this your normal time now? Are you back?
I'm trying to stay at this time for right now.
All right.
I guess, but we're just, it's 9:00 every morning now.
Okay. Well, along what you just said, have you heard of Milton William Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse and the Hour of the Time?
Yeah, I was just listening to something he did. I need to actually listen again to it. Sam Tripoli did like a listen along, like a Bill Cooper. He was playing one of his videos, and he does these like deep conspiracy dives, which is just he just plays videos and interjects random commentary, but it's the videos he finds are pretty interesting. But yeah, I know about Bill Cooper. Yeah.
For your audience that doesn't know, even before Alex Jones, Bill Cooper talked about a major terrorist attack in the United States before 9/11, and said Bin Laden was going to speak the fall. You know that. You know everything.
And he was wasn't he killed by FBI agents?
Yes. Well, it was called Apache police, but who knows who they really were? They were unmarked. You know.
Some agents showed up at his door, and there was a firefight, or supposedly there was a firefight, and he was taken out.
In his back. He was shot in his back trying to get back into his house. What I read.
That's why I'm saying supposedly there was a firefight. Like the story is that he, came out of shooting, and or maybe he just came out the door and said, "Don't shoot," and they shot. I don't know.
Well, you know what I read? Here's what I read. At the end of the street was kind of a dead end, and kids used to regularly party there. So he'd go out and break it up because they left trash on a regular basis. And these cops portrayed themselves as the kids partying. So he goes out there as usual just to break it up and, tell them to stop trashing the place. That's how they drew him out under false pretense. And that's what I read. And then they took him out. How true it is, who knows? But that's what I read about it.
Okay.
Yeah. But the reason I bring him up, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of Alex Jones, I don't know if we even discussed on this channel the fact that he's back on Twitter.
I'd love to talk out with you a bit.
I think that I mentioned that there was a vote, but anyways, he's back on Twitter, which is.
Yeah, I'd like to address that. Well, first of all, regarding William Cooper, along with what you were saying, he got so frustrated, and I think he was taken out in 2011, but he was on the air an hour at the time I don't know when he started. I think he was on for well over a decade, obviously, because he made predictions of 9/11. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, at one point he gets so frustrated, he referred to the masses as turds of sheeple rather than herds of sheep.
Right.
It's not make fun of the masses, but you know how it is. You just get frustrated after a while trying to bring the truth because they're intentionally brainwashed by the CIA, of course, and that's not hyperbole. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I vacillate between. I vacillate between trying to have some compassion for people who are fully in the grip of a narrative or fully in the grip of a story that they can't see their way around, and I get it, but at the same time, I also feel like people have agency and people are responsible for their actions, and their thoughts and their awareness and their consciousness. So it's like, I mean, it's like, okay, I do have compassion and I do have understanding for where people are coming from, and from anywhere, right? Even somebody who's, somebody who might be like well off or come from a, well-to-do place, but they just don't know any, they don't know any different. They don't know any better, right? So, so they just don't have they can't, see around whatever it is, the wall that they have, mentally. Anyways, I mean, at the end of the day, like you are responsible for, for doing better, right? And just, and if you're a sheep and you live your life as a sheep or just as a follower or as a repeater, um, like it's not an honorable place. It's just like well, okay, well, you know, I don't know.
Well, I'd like to make a few comments on it and talk a little bit about the Alex Jones reinstatement of Twitter. But first of all, we're a product of the media we consume, and they know that. So you have the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, which should have been called the Domestic Propaganda Act, that the government can pay the media to lie to us, first of all.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that.
sure, right.
And then that was baked into the National Defense Authorization Act. So, hey, you and I could be arrested for alleged possibly inciting domestic terrorism, be put in prison, suspending the Magna Carta, the for our rights to due process, what I mean, habeas corpus, without a trial, just like they did in Gitmo. This is real. This is real life. This is a National Defense Authorization Act. So what happens is people get intimidated too. They see arrests of people who are whistleblowers. They see people who like take the good doctors or anybody who's trying to whistleblow on the corrupt, established predator class to run this country, and they make examples of those people. They smear them, they arrest them, they lawfare them into bankruptcy, and then anybody else in that same boat says, I think I'm gonna,
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
barking, and you get deplatformed, you get
Right.
demonetized, et cetera, et cetera. So
And you do bring up a good point. A third option, if you will, I guess, in my right, that people may not be able to. Maybe people can try to speak up, but they see what happens to when people speak up, or they see what happens when people go color outside the lines or whatever. Or you
right
lose your
now,
job. You lose your job if you color outside the lines. Do I really? Is this the hill I want to die on? I don't know.
right,
Sure.
exactly. And so now you have like the CEO of YouTube quite a while ago bragging about eliminating quote unquote 70% of controversial content. We have the misinformation
70%.
balance. Yeah,
So you mean she? Is it she? She means 70% of content, not 70%
yeah,
of controversial
exactly,
content. 70% of
exactly.
content, because that's how much is
Right.
controversial.
Yeah. And then you have Google doing the same, and they control 90 odd percent of searches, I should say, you know what I mean? Because most people don't think about them in browsers, right? And then if they hear about one like Yandex, which I stumbled on in the Play Store, oh, that's a Russian browser. But guess what? A lot of that YouTube content and Rumble and Bishu and 153 News are all over there. You know what I mean? A lot of American people producing American content, and it is over in Yandex, Yandex, which you can Google and Yandex browser and find the link to the Play Store where you can download it. So if it's such a bad Russian browser, how come we can access it through Google, but you just won't be able to
Mm,
find it in the Play Store? Or if you do, it's Yandex Light now, like Bud Light. Forget that one. So anyway, and then you
interesting.
have a very small percentage of the searches. You see what I mean? And of course, I've had people come into I do a little calling. I don't have the audience really because my values are very different than for example, let's talk about Alice Jones. That's a good segue point. Well, first of all, let me say a federal judge just invoked a permanent injunction to the California, what is called assault weapons ban, because the ban was against semi-automatics, which, and by the way, anyone who doesn't know the difference between an automatic and a semi-automatic, you have to pull the trigger every time to fire versus an automatic. And guess what? Those AR-15s that they've been dogging since 2012 with Sandy, Sandy, you know what?
Yeah.
Those are all semi-automatics. They don't fire any faster than the 1927 Remington Model 8 with the 15 bullet magazine. You see what I'm saying, Kev? This
Yeah.
is all propaganda.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was
right?
just gonna. I wanted to interject here. The Justin on YouTube says I would say the majority of the population is awake now, and I agree. Or more awake, way more awake. Not, you know, yeah. We have a majority of the population who sees the world as George Carlin sees it or saw it.
Right.
I'm hoping an indigenous wisdom prevails. I don't know. Indigenous wisdom and I'm gonna be harsh here, and this is gonna sound harsh. Did not prevail in the past, and I that doesn't mean that I don't hold indigenous wisdom in high value. It just didn't prevail against the it didn't prevail against the whatever you want to call it, the conquerors, or the people who had other plans. Um, and that's unfortunate because indigenous wisdom, you know, takes being able to not do those things. It's a wisdom, and it isn't like an ethical. There's ethics in morality and a different way of thinking about things wrapped up in that wisdom that these people don't have. Right, obviously the conquerors, the rapers, the conquistadors, you know what I'm saying, the occupiers don't have those standards. That's why they don't care. That's why they, Justin, those with the power have to lay down the sword. That's not going to happen, Justin. Again, I'm being harsh. I'm being harsh, or sound harsh, and I'm not trying to be like a jerk. I'm just saying that's never going to happen. It's never ever going to happen because power concedes nothing without a demand, and a demand is a very nice word for demand is not like, could you please stop doing the evil stuff? That's not enough. You have to actually do something to coerce those people to lay down the sword. You have to stand in their way. It's like a bully. You have to stand them down. They're not going to stop bullying. If you just go, well, man, you're really mean. That's not gonna work. It never has, and it never will. So that's, and I've said this a lot of times, and I'll say it again. It doesn't, yes, we can. I think shifting consciousness is a super great idea. And I'm hoping that, shifting consciousness is enough. I'm hoping that shifting consciousness enough for people to bow out of the system or take their energy away from the system is enough, but I don't think so. I just don't think so. So, there's a lot of people that are awake. There's a lot of people that are elevating their consciousness. There are a lot of people who are aware of the problem and see the problem and we can talk about it all day on social media. But until we actually say no more, until you actually get your body out there and put it in the way, or unless there's a mass, unless there's a massive movement of people in order to just to get in front of this and say that we're not going to do this anymore. Unless that happens, it's just it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But there are glimmers of hope. There are glimmers of hope. Like, enough people during like the COVID thing. There were enough people who did say like, no, thank you to this thing, right? There were enough people out there who really resisted it that it didn't go as far as they wanted it to go. And it does look like at this point the Ukraine thing had such a massive backlash. There's not a lot of energy for keeping it going, even though they're still trying to keep it going. And I don't know how they're really trying to do something with this Gaza situation. They're trying to do something else. Something else is afoot. There's a bigger thing afoot with the whole Gaza thing. There's a much bigger scheme going on than. That's why they don't care that everybody's like, don't do this. And they're like, whatever. This is an end game. And that's why this video is called how empires end, because this is the end game. This is like they're just going for it. They're just, I feel like, and I hope that I'm not right. They're just going to go for it. They're just going for it right now. But hopefully the people with the voices can be loud enough, and we, I don't know if people can get loud enough that we can kind of beat it back a little bit. But I think that they're trying to make something happen, and they're not letting anything or anyone get in their way, and they just do not give a crap about how they look or how people feel or how oh my God, what's going on? How can you do this? They're just like, I mean, whatever. No, we're just going to make this. We're going to make whatever it is we're trying to do go down. That's it. And while people scream and yell and scream about it, I mean, I don't see any different, course of action. I don't see it changing. I just don't. I wish that wasn't so. Oh boy. What's up?
Okay, so anyway, Jalel's in the audience. I want to say hi to him and Timothy. Jalel's always a good one to talk to, as you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
So did you want to talk about Alex? I know you probably have a plan to do things today.
Yeah. I actually am going to let you go, William, because I do want to talk about. I want to go through a couple stories. So
okay,
maybe we'll come back at the end. We'll let it.
Or Friday, whenever you want to do it.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Really, a lot of layers to that Alex Jones issue. It's not something we can really cover.
Oh, for sure. But thanks for calling in, William. I appreciate it.
I know.
All right, I'm gonna kind of run through a bunch of things I wanted to bring up. Yes, everybody was talking about this yesterday. Drone footage from the Iceland eruption. I'm just showing this. I don't have anything to say about it, but golly, that's a fire. I don't know. It's pretty amazing, to see, right? So, the U.S. military has announced a 10-nation. We were just talking about this yesterday. The U.S. military has announced a 10-nation coalition against the Yemeni Houthis in the Red Sea. 10-nation coalition. Only one Arab country, Bahrain, is part of the coalition. Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Saudi Arabia and the UAE rejected the U.S. proposal to join. That's interesting, right? They're trying to get Saudi Arabia to be a part of this. And Saudi Arabia has been a little bit balky of late at being pals with the good old USA, right? They've done several things over the last couple of years that have been they're not playing along necessarily with the whole thing. But this is what I was talking about yesterday and what I was just saying. A 10-nation coalition against the Yemeni Houthis in the Red Sea. Of course, you have to know in the whole conversation that they're going to make sure that you know that these Houthis are backed by Iran. Iran is behind all of this, right? And that's why we got to get in here and do all this stuff, right? Because Iran is doing this. This is a weird post. Looks like the Houthis chose to have other people raise their sons and daughters. The U.S. Navy is coming. Ha ha ha. Okay. I think somebody. There you go. Amuse says Biden removed the Houthis from the terror list and sent them more than $1 billion. Ding. Ding. What was I just saying yesterday? They don't. They could. The Houthis in Yemen could be. They could just squash them in a day if they felt like it. Right? We have the. We have like the Death Star. Military power capability compared to the Houthis. But we don't. We send them. What? We sent the money? What? Why? Why do you think that is? Oh, watch out! The Houthis are blocking the Red Sea. Oh man, we're gonna have to get a coalition in there. Okay. And this guy, this is Dumasani, Washington, is also adding to this. Release billions to Iran, the number one funder of Hamas and of global terrorism. Two, he's talking about what the U.S. has done. Withhold intel from Israel that could have helped avoid the October 7th massacre. 3, let Iran fire on U.S. ships for weeks, driving oil prices up, which further benefits Iran. 4, grandstand about a multinational coalition addressing the problem that you created in the first place. Yeah. Hashtag military-industrial complex. Sure. So, is this is a nice movie that we're watching that's actually happening in real life. It's like a Hollywood movie. But yeah. So that's happening. Yeah, ramping it up. The war bells are clanging. Glang-a-langin'. Oh boy. Just what we need. Just in the nick of time. We're going to continue going. Let's switch over to this. Sam Carana. Again, just, kind of off the charts stuff going on with climate change is, if you care to pay attention. Recent temperature anomalies in the northern hemisphere were more than 2°C above the 1951 to 1980 baseline. That's really that's pretty recent, right? That's not even going back to 1850. 2°C above the 1950 baseline. Higher than above pre-industrial and even higher on land in the northern hemisphere where most people live. Doomer Girl News, traces of sunscreen agents found in the snow at the North Pole. Many of the contaminants we have analyzed, such as benzophenone, I don't know, benzophenone 3, octocrylene, sounds terrible, ethylhexyl methoxytam, I can't even say it, methoxycinnamate, and ethylhexyl salicylate have never been identified in Arctic snow before. Those chemicals like to get around, don't they? I had another something here. Warts is B. Is that English? Is that good English? Warts is B. Um, oh, I think I lost it. Anyways. Extreme temperatures around the world, never-ending record heat in Philippines. In the Philippines. Yesterday, hottest December day on record. At Zamboanga, 36.4 C. Today, hottest December night with a minimum of 27.5 C at San Jose. Record heat has been relentless for months, every single day. Wouldn't you like to be a prepper too? Indeed. Prepper times have never been more important, I think. There's a flip side of the prepper thing though, which is like if you have to vacate your premises, how much can you carry of all the stuff you're not saying not to do it. From Perpetual Shadow Band, the propaganda machine spent years telling you to hate Russians because Putin invaded Ukraine. Now it demands that you feel sorry for the Israelis while Bibi invades Gaza and slaughters thousands of innocent Palestinians. The spin doctors have got their work cut out for them here. It is a little bit. It's a little bit over the top, don't you think? Over 60% of the infrastructure in Gaza has been destroyed or damaged. More than 90% of the Gazan population, 90% of the Gazan population have been displaced. Did y'all hear about this? The Colorado Supreme Court just removed Donald Trump from the ballot. Glenn Greenwald. I mean, this is pretty. It's pretty big news. So, on the Democrat side, they're saying nobody gets to run against Biden, and on the other side, they're going to start. This is setting a precedent for Trump being removed from the ballot. Trump leading in all the presidential posts. How do you think this is going to play out as we enter an election year? Well, if Trump gets to run, it certainly helps his case. If they keep him off the ballot, I think people are going to be. You're just. If you keep him off the ballot, you're gonna inspire a lot of anger, I think. And I don't know, and maybe that's the point. I don't know. Sure. I mean, maybe this is all just some distraction and some, high theater. I don't know. It wasn't the Republican Party that kept him off the ballot. It's the Supreme Court, Colorado Supreme Court. Literally, the court is saying he cannot be on the ballot, independent, Republican, or otherwise. As Biden collapses in the polls and Trump rises, Democrats are going to resort to increasingly desperate and anti-democratic means to ensure Trump can't run, all while they insist that only they are the guardians of democracy. This is playing with real fire. And I agree wholeheartedly with this take. But again, the theater is strong here. Man, if you only would have just stopped talking about, you could have just let Trump just go off into the pastures. Could have just I think ignoring would have been uh, a better way to go about this, but I don't think that that's as is the case in 2015, 16. They elevated Trump. They gave him all kinds of free media time. The Clinton campaign admitted to elevating Trump in hopes that he would be a better opponent than anybody else on the Republican field. So there's a lot of evidence to make the case that they put Trump in a position to win in 2016, and maybe that was on purpose, but and I'm going to say this is the case here too, right? They could have just ignored him, given them the heavy silent treatment, like they're doing to RFK Jr. They could have just, not just stopped talking about him, and he probably would have just drifted away. But no, they're giving him all the airtime, and they're charging him with things, and just it's a circus. Yep. Jazz Farm, malignant narcissists don't just go away. I was raised by one. Well, on some levels, I agree with you. Especially if you're raised by one, you're kind of captive until you can go away. But there is also the preferred way to deal with malignant narcissists is to give them no reaction whatsoever. Gray rock, I think it's called. And to just never interact with them again. That's the best. It's the best way to deal with a narcissist. To not give them any energy. That's the best way. But it's hard when you're a child and you can't get away from them. I totally understand that. They do not go away. You guys are good. You guys know all about this. Yeah. But Justin McNeil, I agree with you. Taking away people's democratic rights and calling them stupid is sure to go over well. Anyways, so yeah, they just removed Donald Trump from the ballot under the 14th Amendment. Even after a lower court judge in Denver, who was a longtime Democrat donor, ruled against, because democracy is when a handful of partisan judges prevent people from being able to vote for who they want. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I would prefer to see anybody else. Anybody else. But Trump or Biden or any of these fools. Another one from Perpetual Shadow Band. I'm just going to take a guess and say maybe it has something to do with the economy not being as strong as they make it out to be. This is in response to this really funny headline. Funny as in hardy har. Why Americans are going hungry despite a strong economy. We keep telling you the economy is so strong. We insist that the economy is doing better than ever, but everybody I talk to is like, oh my God, I am struggling. Oh my God, I am having such a hard time. Oh my God, I can't afford food at the store. Oh my God, we are in a recession. Everywhere I go, everyone I talk to, everybody knows it. But the spin has got to be, well, wait, everything, all the numbers point to the fact that, things are on the upswing. Why are people complaining? So, yeah. Let's see. There's this story. A federal judge, Loretta Preska, is going to unseal secret court docs that name 177 people who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Set for release on the first days of 2024. Woohoo. Protect her at all costs, they say. I was going to say, this might not be. This might be one of those cases where doing the right thing might have consequences. And is it going to actually happen? I'd say that's probably good. Good place to get in there and get a bet going. He says, let's take some bets. Chris Martinson. About downtime. Let's take some bets. How many of these names will be already familiar to everyone due to their pro-COVID vaccine and pro-lockdown 15-minute city CBDC stances? He's betting on how many people will be familiar in the name. I think a good bet is will this actually happen or not? But hey, cross those fingers. Maybe the truth will actually put its pants on. And we'll get it. We'll get it all. We have it all. I'm sorry. That's a Q thing. I'm joking. These are jokes. Let's go on. A couple more things, and we'll circle back. This is an interesting post. I don't really know. I've never seen this guy Jack Straw before. The United States, Inc. and the United Nations have formally conceded defeat in the conflict with Putin in Ukraine. Again, did they really formally? I don't know. This development is considered positive as investigations revealed that funds allocated for Ukraine and Israel wars were illicitly funneled back to global and political elites through money laundering schemes. Well, a lot of people have those suspicions. Russian forces successfully dismantled at least 10 unauthorized U.S. Inc. bioweapon laboratories, one of them in the Ukrainian village of China. Again, I'm just taking this at face value, guys. So, I didn't really go deep into looking at these things, but they did dismantle bioweapons labs. That's actually absolutely true, and that was confirmed by Victoria Nuland, right? They did take over. She didn't call it bioweapons. They did take over some biological laboratories from the Ukrainians. She did. She confirmed it. Tragically, additional children were discovered deceased with missing organs in the underground tunnels of Ukraine. Okay, this is where I don't know. Including one that extended beneath FJB's 200-acre property. What? Analog recordings will be released by Russia. This is actually funny. QAnon thinks Trump says China to send a secret message about Ukraine. China. Incorporated, indeed. U.S. Inc. Yes, incorporated, indeed. Yes. And this is, I don't know where this is from. This is just somebody's computer. Where the first rounds of Ukrainian aid went, then I have to see some Americans with Ukraine flags as bumper stickers. That is also actually kind of funny. I don't know about these. Is this, what do these numbers here mean? What are they? What's the context here? I don't know. Just a somewhat interesting post. Sorry if anybody found that confusing. My apologies. Let's see. Checking out the Rockfin chats here. Okay. Some good debates going on in the Rockfin chats. Well, I'm glad you have time in your day, Side Hustle, to come in the chats and educate people about what's really going on. Thanks, Side Hustle. I appreciate you. You're the best. Love the name, by the way. I do. I do. It's pretty pretty timely. Cause Side Hustle, Cause Side Hustle, bro, Cause all right. Good question, Denver Attaway. Cause nothing better to do, I guess. Cause just time. I got so much time. We all do. So much time for this. Let's go. Let's look at Sam Carana and let's look at sunscreen chemicals in the Arctic real quick. Although we looked at this before, the Double Blue Ocean event. I don't know why he's linking the same. We already looked at this. He's linking the same article. It's all good. Yeah, I imagine Side Hustle's a pretty being a paid chat disruptor is a pretty good side hustle. Just need an internet connection and a laptop, and you could do it from anywhere. There's people on TikTok telling you how to, guys, an amazing side hustle that you've never heard of. Be a paid chatbot to the U.S. government, for the State Department, telling people what you think about. They should know about the narratives that they're discussing on the blah 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 blah. Anyways, whatever. How is it? How's the side hustle? Side hustle? How's it working for you? How's it going? I hope well. I hope hope it's hope it's some bucks. I don't know. Here, let's look at this. Sure. Traces of sunscreen agents found in the snow at the North Pole. They found on the glaciers of the Svalbard archipelago. They were mainly deposited in winter when night falls over the Arctic. A study conducted by researchers from Ca' Foscari University of Venice and the Institute of Polar Sciences, National Research Council of Italy, in collaboration with the University Center in Svalbard, measured their concentration and investigated their origin. The results are published in the journal Science of the Total Environment. The variety of sites selected near human settlements and more remote locations made it possible to study the presence and behavior of emerging contaminants, which are still in use compounds, still in use compounds, but under scrutiny for their potential harmfulness to the environment. Well, I'm glad that they're scrutinizing it now that it's out in the environment. That's always like the best way to go, is to just release something out into the wild before you even understand what the effects are. But after it's released in the wild, then you really, you get all those grants going, and you get your scientists together, and you put together teams, and you go out there in the wild and you research how the contaminants you've already released are affecting the wild. Sounds like logic to me. Again, humans. That was a very, simply, it was very simple for me to see the ridiculousness of the scenario. And I think for a lot of people, it's very simple to see the ridiculousness of that scenario. But why these people who do all this stuff can't stop and go, maybe we should do this differently. Shut up. We're getting a paycheck. Just be quiet. Many of the contaminants we have analyzed, such as benzophenone and blop-a-boop-bops, have never been identified in Arctic snow before. Sorry, I just didn't want to go through that again. Says Mariana D'Amico, PhD student in polar sciences at Ca' Foscari University of Venice, and first author of the study. The results show that the presence of emerging contaminants in remote areas can be attributed to the role of long-range atmospheric transport. In fact, the highest concentrations were found in winter deposition. At the end of the winter, contaminated air masses from Eurasia reach the Arctic more easily. The most noticeable example concerns certain UV filters normally used as ingredients in sun creams. The highest winter concentrations of these contaminants can only be traced back to the continental regions inhabited at lower latitudes. In Svalbard, during the Arctic night, the sun does not rise and sunscreens are not used. Vecchiato continues. All right, well, I'm glad they're on that. That's great. Glad they're they're getting it under control. Anybody leaving any comments here over on the Twitter machine? Oh, X, sorry, whatever it's called. From Stephen Donziger, shocking report from the prominent U.S. rights group HRW finds Israel's Netanyahu government, I know I'm jumping around different subjects here, is deliberately trying to starve civilians in Gaza as a method of warfare. Human rights violation? I believe so. Hunger is not a byproduct of the conflict. It is Israeli policy. Starvation used as a weapon of war in Gaza. And I'm sure that you already know this. Evidence indicates civilians deliberately denied access to food and water. Well, you mean the evidence as in they said we're going to starve them out of there? Like the leaders in Israel were saying, like, we're going to cut off, electricity, gas, food, everything. We're going to cut it all off. There's some evidence. The Israeli government is using starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, which is a war crime. Israeli officials have made public statements expressing their aim to deprive civilians in Gaza of food, water. Right, because it came from their mouths. It's the evidence is that they said, this is what we're doing. Statements reflected in the Israeli forces' military operations. The Israeli government should not attack objects necessary for the survival of the civilian population. They shouldn't, but they already did. 90% of Gazans are displaced, so the deed is done. Anyways. Yeah. This is horrific. I don't know. They're not going to stop doing it. They're not going to listen to you go, "Hey, you guys, you don't do that." They're not going to do that. They're not going to respond to that. They're just not. They're going to keep doing this stuff, and we're just going to sit here and go, "Damn, that's awful." And that makes me feel even more awful. All right. Nice. All right. Give them what for in the Rockfin chats. Give them what for. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. It's about the end of the hour. And thank you all for hanging out with me today and every day on these here interwebs. In case you were wondering about the time, I think people are still confused about the time. For the time being, we're at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And right now I'm doing like Monday through Friday because I just need a little bit of recharge on the weekends because I'm just to the wall trying to do the things to keep everything together right here. So, but I really do appreciate you all hanging out with me every day. I do bring the show to you for freebies every day. There's no paywalls or anything. There's no charges to access this content. And so in order to keep going, I do depend on y'all to help out in any way that you can. And so many of you do, and I do appreciate. Oh, I forgot to say, William Dillon zelled me yesterday after the show. Thank you, William, for I forgot to mention that earlier in the show, but gave me 100 smackers there via Zelle, and thank you, William. I appreciate it. It was very helpful. So these are the ways that you can support the show if you feel moved to do so. If you do appreciate the content that I give you here every day. Where are we at? You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/blackburnnews. You can cash at me at Red Llama Music. You can Venmo me at Kevin Sandbloom. You can PayPal.me/Kevin Sandbloom. You can Zelle me at kevinsandbloom@protonmail.com. And you can follow me at Black Bear News, the number 1, which is where I do stream the show to this channel on Twitter if you want to watch it there. All right, guys, I'm going to see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. And hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, peace.